You've mentioned a lot about venture-backed capital and things like that. You've had success there. How have you learned to be so successful in raising money in that way? Because that's something that myself and my business partners, we never got into. It's all bootstrappy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's figure out a problem to solve, learn how to solve it, and then go out there and convince businesses to pay us to do it, and then we get really good at it, right? It's a different thing.
Yeah.
But
first of all, no, it's a great question. Look, first of all, I have so much respect and admiration for bootstrap businesses. It is so much harder. Like, you don't have the luxury of getting a few millions or tens of millions of dollars from investors and like using that to experiment and learn with. You eat what you kill.
And every decision is slow to a fault sometimes because like, if I screw this up, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So first of all, I have a ton of like admiration for bootstrap business, and I think obviously if you can completely and entirely control your destiny, then that's amazing. Look, in our case, we started the company. I had already, after doing many customer interviews, we already had like customers that were like, okay, we want to pay you for you to help us with this. So we were actually already had, in a sense, kind of paying customers, call it bootstrapped, before we even raised capital.
And this was before you did any software development or anything? It just had a concept and an idea?
So the honest truth is, I was doing the market research, and in parallel, I was talking to customers to interview them that have either been through the process or going through the process. And I was doing interview after interview after interview. And, as I got through more interviews, I started, I was taking notes in these interviews. I was keeping, learnings. I was understanding edge cases. And there was no software. There was nothing.
Right. By
interview 10, 12, 15, 20, I don't remember, somewhere in that range, one customer was like, hey, Dori, thanks again for talking through this. It sounds like you have a lot of experience and knowledge in the space. Can I pay you a bit, and can you consult us for like helping us shut down the business? Like, we're in the process now, and you sound much more knowledgeable than a lot of the people I spoke to, or even my lawyer. Can I just like pay you a bit? You help us? And I'm like, no, I have nothing to sell you. I'm just doing a user interview. Like, I have nothing. But I appreciate the compliment, right?
Yeah.
And that came up probably one or two more times in the next week or two.
Because they were sitting where you were, right?
Yeah, they were sitting, and you're so helpless, and you want help, and like you can't get proper help. And so by the third time or so that this came up, where a customer was like, hey, can I pay you to help us with this? I was like, actually, we're launching our alpha in 2 weeks. I can bring you on as like one of our first alpha customers to test the product and get your feedback, and I'll do it at a discount. But like, yes, you can be. It's a paid pilot kind of thing. And he's like, great. Where do I sign? Send me the invoice. I'll pay you now. And so, literally, at that moment, that I remember going to sleep. It was like one of the most exciting days in my life when I had like a customer, when you have your first customer paying you for something that you do, that you really feel like that connection. But anyways, for the next 2 weeks, I was heads down. I was building out the alpha of the product. I was taking all the learnings and I actually took the playbook at which I built from the previous company on how to shut down. So I took all the knowledge and I pulled out like the playbook that I had built for preparing the company for shutdown. I took all the knowledge from the user interviews and spent 2 weeks heads down building out the alpha version.
You were doing the coding. You were building the product?
Yeah. So our first version was on Airtable. So our alpha was actually an Airtable version with onboarding on Airtable and kind of the process on Airtable. So Airtable is like a low code, no code type platform. So yes, I did that first version. Today, again, obviously everything's on a web app, and we have our own infrastructure, and we have automations, and we have integrations. But the first version was on an Airtable. And yeah, I was heads down for 2 weeks, built out the Airtable, onboarded that first customer. I ended up signing like in that first month, probably like 2 or 3 customers that were all on the Airtable. And that was kind of the beginning. That's where things kind of really kicked off, and we started, and so in a sense, we were bootstrapped. I wasn't fundraising. Back to your fundraising question, I wasn't fundraising. We weren't looking for capital. I was kind of like bootstrapping this. And then in a very random way, I was actually at a fintech conference. So I've been in fintech for the majority of the last decade. And so I like going to have kind of an annual conference in Vegas. I went to the conference, was literally walking the floor. And then I saw a guy I hadn't met in probably 6-7 years. And he's like, what are you up to? I'm like, well, I'm kind of experimenting with this new product. It's for helping companies shut down, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, listen, I have a friend He's a VC at an early stage fund. He's here at the conference. He's going to love this. You have to go meet him. And so long story short, we go from there literally to a happy hour. I meet him. I tell him the pitch. 24 hours later, we have a term sheet. We weren't even raising. We ended up getting a term sheet. So that was kind of our pre-seed round. For our seed round, probably 6 months later, we were preempted, wasn't raising again, had relationships with some investors. They were kind of heard about where we were at, and we ended up being preempted for a seed round and getting, again, multiple term sheets. So we've been fortunate to be lucky on the fundraising side to not have to like spend a lot of time on it. So that's kind of been our fundraising journey.
Hey folks, thanks for checking out this clip from the Business Line podcast. For more great clips, click here and click over here for full episodes.